Hello everyone, welcome to episode 2 of the Lotus Cafe. Today we are preparing for you some carne asada bowls, and we've got our carne asada meat here with some onions and some hearts of palm rice. We use that in place of the carb-filled actual grain itself. And we have, of course, our oils, our spices, and some cheese that is going to go on top. So let's get started. Okay, so we've got our air fryer out and our meat. So what we're going to do is we're just going to turn it on to give it a little preheat. Now I'm going to show you that we have a particular rack in here, which is the grilling rack. So we're going to turn it on. We're going to choose our air crisp function. Then we're going to set it to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 200 Celsius for our UK and other people who use Celsius instead of Fahrenheit. We're going to preheat it for approximately 5 minutes here, so let's get it down there and away we go. Okay, so we've got about 10 seconds counting down of the preheat for our food ninja here, our little ninja foodie. And that means that we are preheated nice and warm. We're going to go in here and we're going to take our carne asada meat and we're going to place it on the grate. Oh, listen to that sizzle. Yes, we love the sizzle here in the Lotus Cafe. Oh, baby. Look at that in there. Oh, yeah. Oh, I wish you guys could smell this. These Latin flavors are absolutely rocking me out. Sorry if it's Mexican, Latin. It's a carne asada. I'm not sure of its origins. I probably should have looked that up. I'm just going to kind of arrange the meat where it's not really overlapping in my foodie. And I'm going to close the lid down. Now, depending on how done you want your meat, if you like it a little more on the rare side, you can cook it to a 130. That is going to be between a 130 and a 135, which is 54.4 to 57.2 Celsius for our EU folks. And this, of course, is going to take 6 minutes on each side because of the thickness. Now, there's a variation between which, and it's basically between 8 and 12 minutes. So, like I said, because those are really thick, I'm going to set mine to 6. So we're going to air crisp at 400 for 6 minutes, and then we're going to flip our meat over. So there we go. Okay, so the first round of the cook on our carne asada is about to end. And there it is. So we're going to open up our air fryer. Ooh, it looks really nice. Now we're going to flip our meat over. Now, I did forget to mention, this is 2 pounds of carne asada that we are using. So, you get that flipped over there. I'm going to close that back down and set it for another 6 minutes at 400 degrees. Oh yeah, it helps if I actually press the setting I would like. So 6 minutes. Now while that's going, I'm going to get my onions started for the bowl. So we're going to turn on to medium-high heat. We're going to add 1.5 tablespoons of Villa Capelli olive oil. And we're going to wait for that to heat up just a little bit. Okay, so our oil is nice and heated, and we're going to add a large onion to the pan here. Okay, maybe that onion went in a little early because I thought that should have a lot more sizzle to it. Let's turn our burner up a little to high. Now, don't do it at yours unless yours, after a couple of minutes, is not hot enough. Apparently, my burner doesn't like to heat the way I like it to, so, oh well, that's okay. So after you add your onion in, you're going to add a teaspoon of salt. I use Redmond real salt because I prefer it. And you're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of fresh ground pepper and a tablespoon of Anna Vicino's taco seasoning from Eat Happy Kitchen. We love her clean spices here in Costa Lotus. I have just a little more of that beautiful olive oil from Villa Capelli left in my bowl. So I'm going to dump it out there into the pan. And we're just going to take our spoon and saute these onions around nice and beautiful. Oh, I love getting all that hot, nice seasoning. I'm a seasoning fan. All seasoning all day, folks. You know what we say in the Lotus Cafe? We season till the ancestors say what. So we're just going to let these saute until they become translucent, which Might be a little difficult to see, but I assure you, it will occur. So we're gonna leave that for, it'll probably take about 5 minutes or so for this to get nice and soft and translucent. Okay, so the timer just ended for our meat, and we're gonna temp it to see. So we're gonna turn our meat thermometer here on and set it to the proper setting, which is beef. Now for a nice medium rare, you want a 130 to 135 Fahrenheit, which is 54.4 to 57.2 Celsius. If you would like it a little more done, to about a 145, which is 62.8 Celsius. So we're just gonna pull the meat up here, grab a hold of it, put it out on our plate, stick the center of it and see what she reads. She's not quite there yet, but again, very thick piece of meat. Now, I make my own carne asada, folks. I buy the skirt steak from the local farmer at what used to be known as Randolph Farms. I'll have to ask her what the new name is, but her name is Ruth Vega. She's amazing. Oh, look, this piece of steak temped out, or carne, I should say. So we're gonna let that sit there, and this one, I'm gonna move it on the rack here and actually flip it over again, and we're just gonna let that go for another few minutes. I think because of the temp it came to, I think I'm gonna give it about 3 minutes. 400 all the way down to 3, and see what kind of goodness we can get, because I do not want to overcook my meat. Now you're gonna want to rest that meat for about 10 minutes. It is an essential, do not skip part of this recipe. You must rest the meat, otherwise it will not be tender and it will not be juicy, and you will not enjoy it as much. Okay, so our onions look pretty good here. It'll probably take just another moment or two. Be nice and soft. Just kind of give them a little pat with the spoon here. No, we still need a moment or two. Now I've turned the heat down to medium. Like I said, I have a little issue with this burner, so I had to get used to how it behaves, because I don't often use it, but since I'm using larger pans, it's the best idea to know what my burner is doing. Alright, so the second round for the carne asada has ended. We're just going to pull this beautiful piece of meat out and give it a temping. Again, 130 to 135 for medium rare, and 145, these are Fahrenheit, for medium. I'm going to stick it in the big thick part here and see what she says. Wow, that is really giving me a fight on cooking. Although the temp might, I'm going to let it sit for just a minute, because I'm just finishing up with my onions over here, which look really wonderful and cooked down. And we're going to throw those in a bowl really quick, because we're going to use this pan with all that wonderful seasoning to do our hearts of palm rice. So I'm going to turn it off real quick while it's while the pan is off the burner. I'm just going to add these onions in that bowl like that. Okay. Okay, so now that we've got it tented, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to start on my rice. I have 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and I have 2 cups of hearts of palm rice. I'm going to put the rice in before I add the oil, and you will see why in a moment, because we still have some of these spices from the onions that we sauteed, and I want to get that incorporated into the rice. It's going to do nothing but add just more flavor, and we love flavor here in the Lotus Cafe. So I'm going to chop that up like this. And of course, I did turn the heat down, which is why you don't hear it sizzling currently, because I didn't want to burn the seasoning off of the pan before I was able to get the rice in, as I was dealing with the meat. So I might bump it up just a little tiny bit here, but you're going to take your olive oil and you're just going to drizzle it over the rice. And I know you might be thinking, oh my gosh, that's a lot of oil to put in that rice. I assure you folks, it's going to be perfect. So we're just going to stir it in there. Again, because this isn't a grain, it's actually a vegetable hearts of palm. My son calls it paradise rice. I think that's so cute. It doesn't soak up all that oil, but it does absorb enough to make it just really unctuous, much like the beans that we're going to be adding. If you cook them with some salt and seasoning like I did, it gets all up in that bean and that flavor is just out of bounds. All right, so I have chopped up my hearts of palm. Now I can put the seasoning all over it. So we're going to add a teaspoon of salt. Again, the Redmond real salt that I enjoy. Another 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. You'll remember we used a 1/4 teaspoon in our onions. And then this is a big dose of flavor. 2 big tablespoons of Anna's taco seasoning. That's Eat Happy Kitchen. Get you some. The link is in the show notes. We appreciate you supporting Eat Happy Kitchen and Anna Vicino and everything she does. Vinny Tortorich, we're going to give him a shout out here because he is who brought us to how to eat clean and live clean, which is what we do here at Lotus Cafe. So we're going to get those spices. Look at how that looks. Oh my goodness. That is just gorgeous. So we're going to let that heat up here for about 5 minutes. Now I want to mention that this rice, which comes from Natural Heaven, it is hearts of palm. We get it on Amazon, so you can click the affiliate link if you want to get some of this. It's amazing as a rice substitute, but it does need to be rinsed and squoze out. So the way you do that is you take a cheesecloth and a strainer, a fine sieve mesh strainer, or I'm sorry, a fine mesh sieve strainer, and you line it with the cheesecloth. You put the rice into it and you just continue, rinse, rinse, rinse for about 5 minutes. Then you twist up the cheesecloth. You wring it out with your hands as, you know, as hard as you can. And it forms a big lump. It does, but as you see, it breaks up nicely and has a great rice consistency without the dangers of inflammation from grains. Okay, the timer just went off for the rest on our meat. So we're going to stop the timer, and in the meantime, we're going to take our onions and add them back, because it's been about 5 minutes. We're going to add those back into that hearts of palm rice. Look at all that wonderful seasoning. Oh my God, that looks so good. We're just going to give that a nice stir. Now, when you start the hearts of palm rice, it's also a good idea to start your black beans heating. You're going to want to put them in a medium saucepan. And you're just going to want to heat them up for about 10 minutes. That way they're nice and warm when you put them in the rice and onions. So I actually have my beans that I made fresh. I did not use canned. And again, if you want to see how to make that happen, throw a comment in the comment section saying that you'd like to see how to make homemade black beans or any other kind of bean, kidney beans, pinto beans. Let me know and I'll make that happen for you. Okay, so now we're going to show you how to slice the carne asada for these carne asada bowls. We've rested it for 10 minutes. We're just going to grab it up here, and because it's not terribly hot because of the fact that we rested it and whatnot, now we're just going to slice it against the grain. Now, as you can see, the striations here indicate the grain of the meat. So we're just going to set it that way. I'm going to place the blade against our knuckles for safety. That way we don't cut off fingers. We don't like cutting off fingers. You're just going to take a nice wide chef knife. This looks like it might have gotten a little more heat than we would have liked. We like it a little more rare and juicy, but oh, baby. That is some sweet looking carne asada right there. And you want to make sure that you slice it very nice and thin. You don't want a big hunk of carne asada in your carne asada bowl. Much nicer when they're thin slices. Okay, so now that we've got our onions and our rice nice and heated, we're going to add our beans. So we're just going to take our lid off of our beans because they've been on for 10 minutes. And we're going to stir them up. We're taking a slotted spoon. And we're going to measure out 1 cup of black beans. Now this is so that you don't have to drain out all the liquid because I think the liquid is really good for other uses. So we're just going to scoop a cup's worth of beans from the pot. We're going to toss them in the mixture. We're going to mix it together here. Incorporating all of that wonderful bean and onion and rice together. Very yummy. I love the smell of this. I wish you guys could smell this. Well, if you cook it, you can smell it in your own kitchen. So now we're just going to plate our bowls, spoon our mixture. Oh, Jesus, what am I hitting? I'm hitting the edge of the bowl. That's not a big deal. I handled it. Okay, so we're just going to spoon our rice and bean and onion mixture into the bottom there. Who am I kidding? This usually can make 4 servings. We make it make 2 because we eat heartily here at the Lotus Cafe. So just kind of put an even amount of rice and bean and onion mixture in that bowl. And then we're going to take and smooth it out just a little bit. Okay. Now we're going to put a glove on. Like I said, we don't touch food with ungloved hands. It's not that we can't, we just respect the other people we're cooking for more than to touch all over their food with bare hands. So we're going to uncover the meat that we sliced up, and we're just going to layer it in the bowl. Take our strips, just lay it in the bowl like that. We love being carnivorous here at the Lotus Cafe, so we put copious amounts of beef in our dishes when we make them. No skimping here. Actually going to move that over because that feels like such a terribly small portion of beef for my partner who's eating with me this evening. Oh look, we didn't fully cut that one all the way. That's okay. Like we say, good food needs no apologies. Sometimes your cut job doesn't work so good. Just another excuse to give him another piece of meat. I think the universe said, I think he needs another piece, and we obliged. So, now that we have the beef layered on top of our bowl, our nice carne asada, I'm going to take our ½ cup of cheese, and we're just going to, it's actually an entire cup, but hey, ½ cup each bowl, because cheese is a food group here at Casa Lotus. I'm just going to sprinkle a little more cheese on that. All right, and that is a carne asada bowl. Now you can add sour cream on top of it if you like. I'll probably do so after this, and I want to thank you for joining us for this episode making carne asada bowls here at the Lotus Cafe, and we would love it if you would subscribe, like, comment, review, all the things you do. We like to know you're out there. We call it sending the ack back in the podcast that I do, The Lotus Effect, Saturdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, is where you can find it at lotuseffect.live. And you can listen to the show, and you'll hear the recipe we made here featured as What's Pheonix Cooking. So until next time, remember that good food needs no apologies. And here you are. Bye.